Hello and welcome to the Nottingham Young Filmmakers Festival 2021. My name is Kirsty and I'm the project manager here at NYFF, and you'll meet the rest of the team later on in the festival. We have an amazing array of short films from some incredible young filmmakers, as well as talks with Rafe and Michael Bird, Ellie Bickerton-Jones, and an exclusive interview with Nottingham filmmaker Jay Martin. Before we get started, please make use of the chat feature to leave some feedback on the films as you watch them. We'll be compiling all of the comments and sharing them with the filmmakers after the festival. Voting will open later for you to vote for your favourite film, and the winner will be announced live on our Facebook page at 9:30, as well as the winner of the Judges' Choice Award, which has been picked by us here at NYFF. So without further ado, let's get things kicked off with our first short film, High and Dry, written and directed by Benedict Goddard.
He's done it now, Mel. This is it. This is the one.
Jim?
No, he's out.
Jim?
He's out.
Jim, listen to me. Not tonight. Any night, but tonight.
What are you on about? You hear him more than I do.
I'm aware, Jim, but if you just listen. I'm with Peter Grant. Revolution Records, Peter Grant. He loves you guys tonight. This could be big. Very big. So if you just keep the fucking act together.
Yeah, and what about Neil?
It's great. Sure, I saw him limping over to the paramedics. He'll be grand. In worst case, we could just get a session drummer anyway.
You know what, Mel? I should have listened to you years ago.
Jim? I'm bringing him over now. Sean? You can't kill. Jim! Jim! Don't ruin everything! What's happened? Jim! Oh God, you're such a baby!
Why do you always have to do this? The music's great, we sound tight, but you always have to take it too far.
Is this about sparklers?
Sparklers? They were fireworks. Neil's leg was on fire.
God, you don't know. Is he alright?
Paramedics think he'll be fine.
Thank God for that. Well, if he's alright then, Jim, I don't really see what the problem is here.
The problem? The problem is you. You're my problem. I'm sick of your shit.
What are you on about?
Fucking arm!
I was just messing with the lights. How was I supposed to know they were going to
Thank
fall?
you again for that support tonight. Wait, are you sure they wanted us to wear these?
Yeah, man. You mentioned the whole gay thing on the phone. I thought we'd just come down and show support.
Well, you guys have certainly had quite the exciting few weeks. Any comment on the recent media frenzy?
Well, you know what they say, Terry. All press is good press.
Okay, then. I suppose I'm a bit of a loose cannon. But I don't
No,
think...
you don't think. You do whatever you want, whenever you want.
Yeah. People love all that stuff. They go nuts for it. It's called rock and roll, man. What's your problem?
My problem is that it's my band and you are a liability.
There it is now. My band. It's never about anyone else, is it? It's always about you.
You know what, yeah? Yeah, it is about me because as far as I remember, Sean, I write the songs, I have the talent, so yeah, it is my band.
Alright, John Lennon, your head's getting a bit big there now.
And you think you're Paul McCartney?
Fuck's that mean?
You can't even play the bass.
That's just like your own opinion, isn't it?
No, it's not. Because actually, Mel, Neil, they both agree, Sean. We've spoken about it at quite some length.
What, just have like a little committee meeting or something? With some nice tea and sandwiches?
It's not a joke, Sean.
So what is it?
We've decided that maybe it's best if we go our separate ways.
Are you trying to kick me out of the band?
No. We're not trying.
Well, just say it then. Spit it out.
Okay. Sean, you're out of the band.
All playing nice, I hope? Oh, fuck. Come on in, Peter. Lads, this is Peter Grant of Revolution Records. He just wanted to have a quick word.
Deep here, Grant?
The very same.
It's an honour.
Yeah, the pleasure's all mine. So it's great to finally meet the esteemed laundromat. Well, most of you.
No. Thank you. You know, we're all very aware of what you've done. So, Jim, do you want to just take a seat there?
Mel, now might not actually be the best time.
Come on now, Jim. Let's not be rude to the man. Let's see what he has to say.
Yeah, let's just get started. Yeah, please.
So, you boys put on quite the show.
Oh, yeah. Some people like to call us a bit of a liability. But that's just their thing, you know.
Great stuff. Just great. So, where do you boys see yourselves going in the future?
Well, actually, we were just talking. Maybe the band needs a new direction. Yeah? Creative differences, right?
That's a shame, really. I saw great potential in you guys.
No, what Jim was trying to say was that this new direction, it's just going to build upon what we already have. So it's just kind of like the same direction, the exact same direction. Straight ahead, no turns, same direction, but better. Right, Jim?
Yeah. Exactly the same direction. I don't know why I just said that.
All right, I'll be curt. Now, this is nothing major, but it's something we use to test the waters.
Is that?
It's a contract, yes. That's only for a year, but I think it could be the start of something good. If you're ready.
Oh yeah, so you won't have to worry about it.
No. Shouldn't we wait for Neil?
Just taking a look on the word.
What the fuck's going on in here?
There you are, Neil. Just in
Jim,
time.
you said you were going to...
Introduce you to Peter Grant of Revolution Records. Peter Grant.
Revolution Records, Peter Grant?
Very same.
Are we getting signed?
You better believe it, baby. Sean's brought it home again.
No. Look, I'm sorry. This has gone on long enough. Peter, I'm sorry you have to see this, guys. Sean, you're out of the band. We can't go on like this, right, guys? Guys, we've decided, haven't we, Neil? Neil?
Let's just take a wee moment here, Jim, yeah? A record deal? That's all you've ever wanted. Come on, think about it. Come on, man, please.
What about your leg, Neil?
Oh, this? Okay, it's just a laugh, Jim. Sure, Sean knows I look great in shorts anyway. Alright, Sean, give us a wee contract there.
No, Neil, you hate Sean. You can't sign with him.
It's a pretty strong word, don't you think?
It's your word. You say it all the time to his
For
face.
the record, I always thought we were just playing around, you know.
See, we're all friends. You know?
No, we're not. Mel, are you going to say something?
I'm going to say something. I'm actually just going to say that is there a 10% clause in this for the manager too, or is
For
that
you, man. I'm sure we can do 15.
Oh,
right, Peter?
Yeah, I suppose so. We may need to actually trim a little bit of the fat. But no, some of the finer details.
Well, can I have a look at it?
Of course, yeah.
It's good. I like it. No, the thing is, this is my band. Okay, mine. Not Sean's. It's mine. I am laundromat. Okay. It's either me or it's him.
Well. I was never actually that much of a fan of the name Laundromat.
It's actually quite cheap.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a very good
call it
point.
that?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Hello, Terry Mitchum here again. Welcome along to another edition of Music Review. And I'm very pleased to say that in the studio with us this evening, we have Revolution Records' recent signings, the Dry Cleaners. And speaking on behalf of the band, we have lead singer Sean Macaulay. How are you, Sean?
Terry.
Sean.
No, I'm great, yeah. Good
Well,
to see you again.
Glad to hear that. And of course, we have bass player Jim Ronan. Well, now, how have you been coping with your recent success, gentlemen?
Okay, guys. We've just had High and Dry. Hope you really enjoyed that. I know I did. I'm Ben, and I've been part of the marketing and design team for the NYFF. And now we're about to show you Perspective by Nimram Manawa. So yeah, sit back and enjoy the film.
sure you want your daughter playing with someone like that?
And by someone like that, do you mean a human being or...
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for earlier as well.
No problem. Take care.
See you.
You've just watched Perspective. My name is Cameron. I'm part of the marketing design team at NYFF. Next up, we've got a nocturnal scene by Elze Mosbenete.
Hello and welcome back from a nocturnal scene. My name is Benjamin Karras. I'm part of the financial and budget team, and you're about to watch Whatever Happened to Grandad Eugene, followed by an interview by the filmmakers Michael and Rafe Bird.
It's my granddad. He's had an accident.
My boy. Good morning.
Come on, Grandad. Breakfast is ready.
Ah! Eggs on toast. My favourite.
This garden used to be something special when I could tend to it. In the summer, we'd have hydrangeas, grapes, and marigolds. Marigolds everywhere. You couldn't walk for not seeing a marigold. It used to have some class. Now look at it. It's as good as a pigsty.
I'm trying my best, Grandad.
I know, me lad. I just miss it, that's all. You missed the spot? Jim, would you like a glass of water?
No, thanks.
Biscuit?
No.
I've got some Garibaldi's in the cupboard.
Yeah, I know.
I can make you some squash. Tea. How about some tea? I can put some coffee on, or there's some of those lovely fig rolls.
Yes, I know, Grandad. I bought them. I don't like fig rolls anyway.
Just trying to help. Just like your mother. How about a spot of lunch, Jim? I'm starving. Soup and sandwiches. My favourite. Such lovely food. Much better than your mother could ever make.
It's from a tin.
Still, much better than your mother was ever good for, eh?
Grandad, please.
Maybe if your dad stuck around for a while, you'd have had at least half a chance of turning out alright. You're lucky you got to me eventually. Even if you are damaged, I've salvaged what I could. But some things are beyond repair. Sometimes I think you resent looking after me. I know the situation is dire, but that's what family's for, eh? I guess really, I'm the lucky one. Sometimes I think I'm a bit harsh on you, lad. How about I cook tonight? I'll make spaghetti and meatballs, eh?
You sure you'll be alright in the kitchen, Grandad?
Oh yes, me lad. I'll be fine.
Everything alright, Grandad?
won't be long now, lad. Sorry if I'm a bit slow. Fastest I've moved in years.
Right.
Dinner's ready. Not bad for an old timer. Hey.
Spaghetti and meatballs. My favourite.
What do you think?
That's good. It's a bit salty, but good.
Salty. Salty!
No, yeah, no, it's good. I guess it's just nice having someone prepare food for me for a change. Grandad, please.
You ingrate. If it wasn't for me, you'd be living on the streets selling your hair for crack like your mother.
Or maybe the only reason she was like that is because you're like this.
Like this? Like this? Like what?
Angry.
You ain't seen nothing yet, boy! I give you a reason to live, boy! Looking after me is all you've got! Right, and look at me, after everything I've done for you, you'd think you'd treat me with some respect! Some respect! Without me, you'd be on the streets, I'd bring you up and you'd treat me like this!
It's my granddaddy's. He's had an accident.
Hi, and congrats on whatever happened to Grandad Eugene being selected for Nottingham Young Filmmakers Festival. Before we start, could you just both introduce yourselves?
Yeah, so I'm Rafe Bird, and this is my brother Michael Bird.
Okay.
We both obviously worked and made whatever happened to Grandad Eugene.
So Rafe, obviously I met you last year shooting All Clear, which we're screening later on in the festival. But could you just give some background on your acting career so far, how you got started, and how you got into making your own short films?
Yeah, of course. So really, it started when I was kind of still in school, leaving school, just kind of scrolling through Facebook and began looking for extra work from local filmmakers. So from there, I kind of went on set, learned how sets work and everything. From there, kind of got a few commercial jobs, and then found, obviously in Nottingham and Derby, there's a massive film student population. So there's constantly student work being put out. And that is what I did for a couple of years. Managed to put myself together a little show reel. Got some slightly bigger castings, mostly through Facebook actually. So I got into a feature film in, I think it was 2016, which was found through Facebook. But then since then, I've been doing mostly commercial and short films. As for how we got into creating our own short films is during, obviously there's been a pandemic and lockdown and everything. I can go out and film. We got quite bored and we realized we had some equipment, because you've been doing music and sound design kind of all your life. So you've kind of collected a bunch of mic stands.
Stuff that helps.
I had found a few friends and we went in on a camera, got a pretty basic just DSLR, And it first came to us during the first lockdown, which like, I've kind of got this idea where there's a guy trapped by his cuddly toys, because obviously you can't use any other actors. So we're like, what do we have? Cuddly toys. And we kind of, with that one, we really just made it up as we went along. And when we finished that, we looked back on it and we kind of put it out. People were really positive about it, but we looked on it and was like, yeah, it's too long. There's a few issues we have with it, and it doesn't tell a story very succinctly. So that was when we really got into like, okay, we need to plan it out and actually plan what we want to do, how we want the film to look.
Yeah.
So we actually wrote a script for whatever happened to Grandad Eugene to begin with, which we didn't with the last one at all. But yeah, we wrote the script, made a kind of storyboard. You're way better at drawing than me. We're still both terrible though. Like it was just kind of like sketches and like, yeah, his head's not really this big, but it kind of is. Of the kind of what we wanted some of the shots to look like, which is why I think if you watch Whatever Happened to Grandad Eugene, and then watch, because we made one called Self-Isolate, which is the first one. Self-Isolate was really kind of basic, like shoot this, have a look at this. Whereas with Whatever Happened to Grandad Eugene, there's more shots where there's a lot more going on. So like there's one where Jim is in the forefront and the Grandad Eugene's in the background. So yeah, we had a massive kind of focus on the pre-production, which makes it a lot easier, as I'm sure you know, Kirsty, a lot easier to actually film it.
How did you find filming both Self-Isolate and Grandad Eugene in a lockdown? Like obviously it was only you two, and Grandad Eugene, you had the puppet as well. Like how did you find like managing yourself like on set?
It's quite funny actually.
Yeah, I mean it was tough because obviously you've got only two people kind of doing everything from set dressing and like all the kind of camera work, and yeah, obviously sort of sharing duties on the puppet as well. There were some scenes where someone had to be behind the camera and some scenes where we could sort of just hit record and run. And one of us would be, you know, if it was a shared scene, you know, I'd have to run and sort of operate the puppet, but then there's some scenes I would need to like pull focus or something. So then you'd have to use the puppet.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of kind of like juggling jobs just because obviously there was only two of us, and like literally no opportunity to have anyone else involved.
I think that a big part that really helped with it was that we knew that there was only us two that could work on it.
Yeah.
So every
you
time
kind of write for that, don't you?
Yeah. So we knew we didn't really want to. We also have crippling fear of working with other people currently.
Yeah.
So we're like still like.
We're very new to everything still. So
Yeah.
Yeah. It was kind of nice almost to kind of keep it in a bubble.
Yeah, and like we know that we want to do it in the house. We want to do it where there's only one human actor. So as you say, you kind of plan and write for it, which makes it easier to film, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but yeah, there was a lot of job juggling.
Yeah, and there was also we still live at home as well, so a lot of kind of planning.
Scheduling around that.
Yeah, so we've filmed it all in a week, and our mum kind of goes to and from work. So she'd kind of leave in the morning, and first thing we do is we run out and we'd be like, right, okay, let's set up before the light gets here. And it would be like, yeah, like 10, 11, and we'd be like, right, okay, let's do it. We'd set up and like, no, the light's going, what do we do? And then by 4, we'd have to wrap down. And then we've got a few night scenes, we'd have to be like, Mum, can you just go upstairs tonight? We'll buy you a pizza, just go upstairs and we want to film down here, which was quite funny. So yeah, really just kind of, yeah, as you say, writing for it and planning it. I think was a big part of it.
Yeah.
How was like the post-productions? Obviously you've talked about like the pre-production and actually filming, like how using DaVinci Resolve and learning how to like color grade through YouTube tutorials that you've been like watching. Do you feel like lockdown has given you that time to learn more about like the filmmaking process, and how has that been?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think so. What we do is every day after we'd shot, we'd load it in, do like a rough edit. We had some basic knowledge. You've worked on a few little bits before.
Yeah.
So we have a basic knowledge of how to use Premiere Pro to build a sequence. So we build the sequence, kind of get a vibe for what we want the sequence of events to look like. And then we'd literally be like, this looks terrible. And then we'd spend an entire night until like 3 a.m. just being like, right, okay, what's this doing? And like we'd be looking at color grading. It's really like a rabbit hole. It's like you get so far into it, and you're staring at this screen, and you're like, right, okay, what if I do this? What if I just like, up the brightness, up the exposure? And it's like, no, it looks terrible. And then you hate everything. And then you come back to the next day. It's like, this looks fine, actually.
Yeah.
And then you do the worst thing, because we don't have like monitors that have like the correct color. So we'd then put it on the TV and we'd be like,
this looks horrendous. It looks like super burnt out, super contrasty and over the top.
I think we did 3 different color grade edits of Grandpa Eugene.
Yeah.
We did one where it was really bright, because we were like, right, okay, it just looks wrong. So then we put it on the TV, and it hurt the eyes because it was so bright.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, let's take it back. And then we did it really dark, and we're like, okay, no, now it's too dark.
Mm.
And then that's where we discovered DaVinci Resolve, and what's that? What's the guy's name? Cats.
Yeah, a bunch of tutorials, from that guy with Cats,
Yeah, and you started to then understand a lot more about DaVinci Resolve, and once we did it through that, we were like, right, we're a lot happier with this now, and then put the look on it as well, and it all came together in the end. But we actually got to a point where we were like, we have to stop looking at this and give ourselves 4 or 5 days and then come back to it.
Mm.
So, yeah.
And how has like the reception been for the film? Like, are you proud of the reception it's received? Because I've seen like you posting about it on your Instagram and everything.
Yeah, actually, it's been overwhelmingly positive. So obviously we put it out on my Facebook, and a lot of friends and family have been really positive about it. But they're going to be, aren't they? So what I've done is I've contacted people who don't need to be positive to me, basically.
Yeah.
They don't have any social contract to be nice to me, and sent it out to them, and then they've come back and they've generally said that it's been really well, been really good, and I think the biggest thing is that technically it stands up. It doesn't look out of place because it's bad, so that's really positive, right? We sent it to a few film festivals like yourselves, and we've got some feedback which has been really positive from them as well. Some
nice constructive stuff that is like things to work on for like future films or whatever.
Yeah, and we've been accepted into a couple as well, so it's been, as I say, overwhelmingly positive. And one thing that's really nice, obviously, I come from the acting background, and a kind of a whole motivation behind why I'm making these is because I want to do some performances, and people have been really positive about me. They've been overwhelmingly positive about Eugene. Everyone's commented, the puppet looks really real and stuff, and it's like, guys, I'm right here.
We seem to have somehow nailed the puppet thing. The puppet performance has sort of stolen the thunder a bit.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Well, I think it's a great achievement, especially in a lockdown as well, with limited filmmaking knowledge and equipment as well. And I know that you're working on a micro short at the moment called The Hunter. What stage is that in, and how is that going?
So we are currently in talks with someone we know who does kind of VFX, and they're going to just take a little time with it. We've got the basic.
The basic edit's actually completed. Like the shooting's done, edit's done, pretty much. It's just a case of like slotting in a few. Really one potential VFX shot that may or may not kind of make it into the final thing, but.
So we're just going to sit on it for a little while and see how we feel about it. We're going to enter a few festivals with that as well. Yeah. But generally, I think that has been our best looking, because we've invested some more money into more equipment, more lighting, and spent a lot more time. Funny enough, even though it's a 90-second short, a lot more time thinking about the script, the story, on how you can make something interesting in 90 seconds has been something that we really had to delve into.
Yeah.
So as I say, it's pretty much finished. We're just sitting on it now for a bit.
And what do you have any projects like in the pipeline for like after The Hunter, like a film together, or any are you still applying for like acting jobs and stuff like that?
So, I mean, me and you will literally always have...
Yeah, always have ideas.
Yeah, we're halfway through writing. With every creative, you get like 100 script ideas. About 50 of them start being written. and then about 10 of them get halfway
Get
through.
3/4 through, like halfway, and then
then
5 get
one.
3/4,
Yeah.
and then you filter down to 1, yeah.
So we've constantly got it. We've got about 3, I think.
Yeah.
I
On
think
the go.
Yeah, we've got one where we want to kind of explore writing something that we really want to make, and really passionate about. And we've got a few more where we're trying to learn how to do different things. Like we've got one where we actually want to shoot in one continuous shot.
Yeah, like we kind of almost like segmented it into like scripts that we want to write, and then films that we just want to make that are almost like the equivalent of artist sketches, where it's just practicing a specific technique. So maybe like like a gimbal thing, like a one shot, or like playing around with lighting or whatever. So there'll be some that kind of have specific goals almost that are probably just going to end up being shorts or micro shorts, and then a few other ones that are maybe a little bit more ambitious kind of script wise or whatever. But obviously those are the ones that obviously like barely written.
It's kind of more daunting taking them on, because you can get quite vulnerable writing these things. It's not really.
But you really want to put a lot more of yourself into it, but it can be a lot scarier, I think.
So, and we do still have a lot to learn about writing and everything.
About writing, about filmmaking, everything. It's all very, very new. Really.
As for myself, so obviously, still going from the acting side, there's a few productions I've auditioned for, and I'm just waiting for the go ahead for when we can start filming to do. And just constantly kind of auditioning for other stuff as well. I think I've finally mastered a self-tape on the technical side. Just about anyway. So just sending more of them out. I'm looking now for an agent as well. But obviously it's also strange. So I think you're gonna have to just see what the industry's doing when we come out of lockdown, because it could be there's a massive boom of productions going on, and it's like heaven. There's money flying everywhere. You don't know. Or it could be quite the opposite, where it's like everyone's kind of struggling to make everything go. So we're going to have to just keep your ear to the ground and then play it by ear, I think. But we just keep trying to do what we're trying to do, and get more jobs as well.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, congratulations on whatever happened to Grandad Eugene, and I'm really looking forward to see what you guys do next. I'm sure it'll be great. And thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
We're now going to take a short break. We'll be back soon with some more amazing short films and a Q&A with Ellie Bickerton-Jones. Welcome back. We're now going to watch a short film called Growing Pains, directed by Savannah Kitio.
Boys become men every day. Scrawny limbs and pear-shaped muscles that wrestle on tarmac and join together in pretend ceremonies of love and war form these frames that we're told we must fit into, to be bigger, stronger, taller somehow, until the weight of manhood breaks down all resistance, convincing you there is only one way. I remember reading once about a tradition practiced by the Maasai when a boy is approaching the age of circumcision. Together with friends, he's sent out to hunt for the rarest, most attractive birds he can find, and before long, returns with full hands. Using careful attention to detail, he cleans and guts till all that is left are the feathers with which to decorate a headdress. From time to time, crown on head, he competes with other men to see who has the most kills or fashionable displays. And sometimes you'll find him wandering around, surrounded by shades of color. For me, there was no sudden coming of age or fancy celebrations to narrate to future lovers. Deepest admirations, that's what I gave to you. Only for you to drain me of all my energy. You took my mental, emotional, physical energy you consumed, yet, and still my biggest investment was the time that I spent with you. I kept receipts. Now I'm wishing I could refund it too. It's funny because I broke the mold for you. I gave you me. I closed my eyes and dived into the depths of your sea, purest of energies, squashed the beef I used to see us as enemies. Red wasn't my color. It used to clash with my melanin. Until you set me free from the cage I had feelings in. We grew in trust till we broke the glass ceilings in. No more self-imposed boundaries. The music, the media, the culture couldn't box me in. I put my pride aside. Selfless was my new embrace. This peace I had was anchored, or so I thought, but that just weren't the case. All I'm left with now is the experience. Guess that's my saving grace.
Wish you could stay. Another day. Oh, are you ready? Oh, yeah, no. I ain't ready. Oh, I ain't no. I ain't ready. No. I ain't ready. No. Oh, I ain't ready. Oh, I ain't no. I ain't ready. Oh, I ain't no. Oh, I wish you could stay.
Hey guys, you've just watched Growing Pains. I'm James, the editor for the festival. Next up is Amber Necklace by Trimonite.
Taigi čia tikrai ieškot gintarų.
Gal galėtum daugiau parodyti savo fotografijų?
Čia tik kelios, kurias padariau atvykęs. Sakyk, iš kur gavai tą vėrinį?
Kokį vėrinį?
You've just watched Amber Necklace. I'm Amy. I'm in charge of festival communications. Next up is Dr. Buttons by Jack Greenwood.
Dr. Buttons.
At your service. It's lovely to see you again, Holly. Had any more problems with your fingernails?
Nope.
That's what I like to see, although that thumbnail looks a little bit shorter than last time.
You can call me a blanket, I promise.
If you say so. Remember though, you can't be a princess if you don't have perfect fingernails.
I know. I won't bite them.
Excellent. Now, what can I do for you today? Oh no. What has he gotten himself into this time?
Can you make him better?
We shall see. Oh, goodness me. What a terrible stench. Oh dear. What a mess. Now, let's see. His heart's still ticking away. I think I know the problem here. His body is fine, but it's his head that's all wrong. I think it's something to do with those. We'd better be quiet.
What does alcoholic mean?
It's like mouthwash that makes your breath worse. It makes you happy, or it makes you sad. And when you wake up, it just makes you grumpy.
So Daddy wanted to get happy?
Correct. Which means...
That he was sad? Can we make him better?
Huh? Holly, what are you doing?
Don't be mad, Dr. Buttons is telling me what's wrong with you.
What?
He told me what alcoholic means and that you're really sad.
Where did you learn that word?
Don't be mad, Dr. Buttons said the train makes you angry.
I've had enough of Dr. Buttons.
No, stop!
Go to your room!
What's wrong with you? Don't suppose you know.
World-class parent you turned out to be. I've seen wet pigs live in nicer conditions than this.
You don't know me.
Don't I? Your name is John Lansing. You are 35 years old. It took you 12 attempts to pass your maths exam in school. Something the other children found phenomenally easy.
That's a lie.
It isn't. And do you want to know something else I know about you? Something even more embarrassing. You've grown up to be a terrible father, John.
Excuse me?
I will not excuse you. I will never excuse a neglectful parent. Here is math even you can understand. 7-year-old plus neglect equals drama.
Go on then.
Thirsty, John?
Okay. Okay.
She's a child, John. She doesn't know how to take care of herself. How on earth can you expect her to take care of you?
I don't need taking care of.
Are you sure? You might want to take a look around.
Shut up.
Go on. I dare you, John. Look at the mess you've made.
I said shut up.
Stop being such a child and open your eyes!
There.
What do you see?
Not a lot. It's quite dark.
Good. Keep going.
Are videos on? There are a few beer bottles on the floor. It's cold. Too cold. Kitchen's a mess. The whole house is a mess. Holly's door's closed. She never used to close that door. What have I done?
You need to show her you still love her. And that things are going to be okay.
I do still love her. I just can't.
Yes, you can. It's time you did some cleaning up, John.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry. I spoke with Dr. Buttons. I know what's wrong with my head now. I'm going to try and fix it. But I'm really scared, and I need your help. I love you so much.
I love you too.
Hi guys, you've just watched Dr. Buttons, and next up is a Q&A with Ellie Bickerton-Jones, followed by her documentary, Girl Power.
Hi Ellie, congrats on Girl Power getting selected for Nottingham Young Filmmakers Festival. We can talk more about the film in a minute, but first, could you give just some background on how you got into film and what your career's been like so far?
Yeah. So I started sort of studying creative media production at college. I did a BTEC in it and really enjoyed it. So I did another course at college that was a foundation diploma. And that covered everything from like documentaries to live TV productions and like a 5-part mini TV series. And from that, I thought, oh, I want to go to university and kind of further my passion for it, I suppose. So now I'm at university. I'm in my 3rd year at Staffordshire University studying media film production.
Awesome. Cool. So how did Girl Power come about?
So I'd planned to do a short fiction film for my second project of 2nd year. And because of coronavirus, the whole pandemic, that got cancelled, unfortunately. So I still had to submit a film for university. So I decided to take the idea for the original film and make it into a documentary instead. So I decided to interview a couple of female musicians about their sort of about their kind of influence within the music industry and that sort of thing. And yeah, I'm really pleased with how it turned out.
Awesome. And you created Girl Power obviously in the first lockdown, like March, May 2020. How did you find like organizing and filming it? Because obviously it is like Zoom calls. So how did you find doing that in a lockdown?
It was tricky. I had to kind of learn how to use everything as everyone did at the start of the pandemic. And I also had to learn how to use like a screen recording software as well. So I could record the interviews and the sound and the audio and the picture at the same time. I was a bit worried that people wouldn't want to do it because obviously the whole sort of doing Zoom interviews and that kind of thing was new for everyone at the start of the pandemic. But I think people had a lot of extra time on their hands, so they were willing to help me out with my project, which was great. Yeah.
Awesome. And what's next for you? Like, do you have any projects you're currently planning? Obviously, you're at uni, or you're planning like post-COVID?
Yeah, there's a few that we'd started to plan in sort of September when things were looking okay, and obviously it's all gone downhill again. We've put them on hold at the minute, and we're hoping to pick them back up again. So I'm co-producing a project about, it's kind of like set in the cyberpunk sort of genre. So yeah, I've got that project in the works, and a few others that we started to work on before this whole crazy thing happened, that we hope to pick up again, hopefully in the summer when it's all settled down again.
Awesome. Well, thank you for doing this Q&A, and thank you for submitting Girl Power. Awesome.
No, I think women are sold in the music industry in a different way, and it's more about how you present yourself and not just about the music. And we're also set to a much higher standard than men.
I've never been sort of mistreated as a woman compared to my male counterparts, but I do feel like I have to work that much harder just to be sort of at the same level.
We pretty much get asked literally like every interview, oh, what's it like being a woman like in the industry? But I highly doubt men get asked the same thing. We usually describe ourselves as like all girl band, but like I don't really know why we do that. Like if we were all boys, we wouldn't say, oh yeah, we're all male band.
I do my PGCE and I asked all my, there were year 8s to draw someone performing, and most of them drew a woman but with a microphone, and like no girls playing instruments.
There's sort of an emphasis on being a singer or a performer as opposed to a musician, or if they are a musician, they're sort of pushed down sort of a feminine instrument route rather than like an electric guitar, drum kit.
You feel nervous to like put yourself out there as a girl, probably because it's, especially when you feel like it's going to be like a massively like, I guess, like male dominated space.
It would change massively if more women were producers and more women were managers and more women were agents, and they like that encouragement will change the way that women as musicians, because there isn't a lack of women in the music industry in terms of musicians at all, and it's just that they don't get picked up as much as men do, because the people that choose, the majority of the people that work in labels are men.
I think a lot of labels don't want to risk putting money into non-male artists as well, because they don't think they're profitable enough unless they are sex symbols.
Men in that industry are really good at making you feel like you're a product to be sold.
The pressure to look a certain way overcomes their talent or whatever, which is such a shame. And there are some incredible women out there who are overlooked because they don't look a certain way.
Someone said to us, "Oh, I'll only sign you if you will start wearing crop tops and mini skirts." And me and Maddie and Frankie were like, "No, like we're not going to do that. We just sell ourselves on trying to be musicians."
There's definitely a more pressure for a female to have sort of a pop star image, as opposed to, like, if you're in a band, it's much more appropriate for a male to get away with being sweaty and running around with their shirt off or with a t-shirt, and then a woman, it would be scandalous if a woman was to go ahead and do that.
The whole look on women I would change, rather than it being sexualized, being more taken as a musician than just an object.
I think it is quite daunting to be a young woman looking at the treatment of other women in the media, being like, well, I don't want to end up like this person who's getting slated every day in the media.
Every time a festival releases a lineup and then people are incredibly disappointed, they make their own lineups full of non-male bands to show the variety that there is. I think it's pure laziness. I think it's festival bookers not going out of their way to find artists that are popular and well liked.
I think that the committee members of these festivals have said, "Oh, we've looked, but we can't get bands of all. There's not many about, but like we know that there are."
Like the bigger BBC Norfolk are telling us, we need to present more females on our shows, try and get a 50-50 split. And he said to me that there's just not enough girls doing it really to get the 50-50 split. But there are. You just don't give us the time of day when it comes to playing the local stages. They just put men on. If you open up those spaces for girls, then you're going to inspire more girls, but no one's doing it.
There needs to be promoters putting on more non-male bands, not just because they need that for their lineup, because a lot of the times you end up being the token women band, which it doesn't feel great.
It's quite sweet because we will play gigs and we'll get dads come up to us and they'll say, "Oh, I'm trying to get my daughter into playing drums and she needs more people like you to kind of like look up to."
The more women bands there are, the more people will want to start making music because they can see that and think, "Oh, if they can do it, I can do it," which is the best way.
I actually like playing with women because it gives you a sense of strength, because we're stronger together.
I run an open mic night at one of the local cafes in Cambridge, and again, it's not exclusively for women, but it's trying to get women to come up and play and be with other women. And it's really nice because I've had like little children coming up, like young girls like are 8 or 9 years old, and their dads brought them up like 3 times now, and the first time they came it was so lovely because I had like 4 women who came to play, and they weren't just all playing the guitar, like some was doing hip hop, some was playing, so it was great. And these little girls just sat there watching, and it was so lovely. And the next time they came back, they got up and they sang a song. It's just about giving women the platform.
So I used to do gigs with my producer Gabriel, and like even in sound checks and stuff, he'd be asked how I want my mic to sound.
And the sound technician kind of treats you like you don't know as much as if you watch the other boy bands and they'll sound check and they'll be like, "Oh, can you turn this up? Can you turn that up?" And they'll be really fussy and they'll get on with it. But when it's with us, the sound technician's just really blunt.
We have a friend in Cambridge who's called Chrissy, and she's a sound engineer. The band will turn up and they'll come up to her and they'll say, "Where's the sound man?" And she'll say, "Well, I'm Chrissy, I'm doing the sound." "Oh, you the helper, are you? You're the helper?" And she said, it happens every gig. She said, no one comes up to her and says, "Oh, you're the sound person. Hello." They'll immediately assume she's helping the sound man.
I think in general, I feel less valued as a musician
being a female, and whenever I go to gigs, I feel as though there's a low expectation of us because of our gender. I think people see us, and we're young and we're girls, and they think they're probably not going to be very good. And quite often we'll receive positive feedback afterwards, like, oh, that was so good, I really enjoyed it. I wasn't expecting that. And I think, but why weren't you expecting that? But you did expect it from another band who was performing, and you know, that just because of their gender or the way they look, you've judged us.
Just as soon as they see you, they think, oh, they're not going to be as good of a musician. They don't even use their ears, I don't think. I think they just look at you and just assume you don't know as much as what a man would know.
I think the main problem is the lack of expectation from women, and that there's just no way that we can make good music, you know, because we're not men. It's stupid.
Why does this conversation even need to be a thing?
We're now going to take a short break. We'll be back soon with our final 2 films and an exclusive interview with Jay Martin. Hello, welcome back. Next up is Coffee Breaks, directed by Graciela May. We hope you enjoy.
Thank you for watching Coffee Break, guys. Next up is our final film in the film festival, Stay Home by Isaac McPherson.
What's been super positive is that all the local residents or vast amounts of them have been coming into the high street sensibly, in sensible numbers, but to support the small businesses.
For a town which relies heavily on tourists, Whitstable tells a story of totally changed priorities. It's deserted. But their control over the crisis is under threats with the summer here and the government promising easing of the lockdown. And they're right to be worried. Hundreds of Londoners having a day out at the seaside, risking Whitstable's health. The town was furious.
People were outraged by it. What we don't want is, particularly Londoners, because of the high degree of infection that's in London, and therefore the perceived greater risk.
I really hope they don't come to Whitstable. It's not a holiday, it's not business as normal, and we have to get that mindset into all our own heads and our own families and just stay where we are.
The best case scenario, of course, is that people have learned something over the last 6 weeks about what constitutes appropriate behaviour in the new normal. The worst case scenario is in the coming days and weeks.
Please leave a message after the...
Voting is now open, so let's take a look back at NYFF's official selection. The link to vote is in the description box, so go get voting. Up next, we have an exclusive interview with NYFF's featured filmmaker Jay Martin. Hope you enjoy.
Hi Jay.
Hi, how are you?
I'm all right. I'm good. So I've got a few questions to ask you. And our first one is, have you always been interested in film? Like, how did you kind of get started into this business? Just want to know, like, how you kind of made your way through beginning your film career.
Sure, yeah. So I suppose got it in my head when I was at secondary school that I wanted to go into the film industry. But living up here in Mansfield, you know, it's a traditional working class town. There's not much support for the arts industry up here. So I went to study at Confetti, obviously the college that you guys are at the minute. I spent 2 years there doing a BTEC in film and television production from 2015 to 2017, I think. While I was there, I made my first short film, Catharsis, which did quite well. And yeah, it's something that I've always had an interest in storytelling. And that's what I always say, is that my passion is for telling stories. So whether that be through writing, through making films, you know, whatever it is, I'm just interested in telling stories. And I think for me, the sort of catalyst was I had an English literature teacher called Miss Roberts, and she was an incredible teacher, you know, and we studied literature with her, so we'd read books and stuff like that. And she was just so passionate about storytelling, and she could dissect, you know, the literature in a way that made it really exciting to me, I think. And, you know, I remember having a conversation with her about the fact that I was interested in going into the film industry, you know, or making films. And she said, yeah, go for it. She said, there's this college down in Nottingham, this specialist, you know, media college. See if you can get in there, go study film there, and then just go for it. So she was really the catalyst, I think, that you know, got me to sort of believe, like, yeah, I can do this, you know. And then after spending a couple of years at Confetti, which, you know, one of the best, if not the best, media college to study at, in my opinion, at least in the Midlands, I was ready to go. You know, I'd learned everything that I needed, and it was that springboard into the industry for me. So yeah, that's how I got started.
Nice. So when you did kind of graduate, what did you do? Like, who did you go to? Because I can imagine, like for me, that's where I'm kind of looking at now. I'm just about to graduate, so I'm kind of learning, where do I kind of go from here now? And I just want to know, like, your kind of story and how you got onto writing and directing your documentary that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, so I took a bit of a different approach. So when I was at Confetti, I had a teacher there, or a tutor, Luke Radford, and he was a great tutor, right? Works in the industry now, full time, incredible filmmaker here in Notts. And he pushed me to be really ambitious with the films that I was making while I was at college, you know. The first module that we did in my first year was to make a documentary film, and I was completely stumped as to what to make a film about. And Luke said, listen, Jay, there's this film that I've been trying to get a student to make for years. It's about Nottingham's first serial killer, a guy called Mark Martin, right? No relation to me. Not that it needs to be said. And he said, you know, try and do this. Like, here's a contact, go to this guy and see what you can do. So me being like the ballsy sort of student that I was at the time, I was like, yeah, I'll do it, Luke. No worries, mate. I'll sort it. And I did. Like, I ended up jumping at the deep end, absolutely no idea what I was doing. and ended up getting an interview with like the lead prosecutor, the lead detective on the case, personal friends of the killer, and sort of made this little film called NG2. So then from there, I wanted to make a narrative film, and I wanted to make a film that didn't come across as like a student film, right? A film that I wanted to be on the level of sort of the other short films that were being made locally by professional filmmakers, you know. So what I did was essentially I made a lot of the film outside of college. So I got a job through the summer of my first year, saved up about $2,000, and I put that into hiring a professional team to help me make Catharsis, because, you know, I wanted it to look better than everything else. You know, I wanted it to sound better, and I wanted to try and make a pretty professional looking production. So I've took that ethos from, you know, the first film that I ever made, NG2, then going into Catharsis. And that's where I've sort of gone from there. So I always self-fund my own stuff, right? With something like Red to Blue, no doubt we'll get onto, you know, I ran a Kickstarter campaign that helped us out. But my thing is, you know, no one's going to come along and give you 10 grand to make a film. No one's going to come along and give you a screenplay and say, there you go, that's an amazing screenplay, turn it into a film. At least not at this level. You've got to be tenacious, and you've got to have that fire inside you that keeps you going. And for me, you know, I think I want to make things that are bigger and better than what I've done before. So for me, investing my own money into that is a great way of doing it. So I've always worked a full-time job alongside my filmmaking, because that allows me the spare capital to be able to invest in films like Red to Blue, films like Catharsis. And only now am I beginning to get professional commissions from people like the BBC to make documentaries, you know, where they are paying me. Normally I invest the money, right? And I'm completely fine with doing that. So yeah, you mentioned that you're unsure about what you want to do. You know, I think for me, my choice between going to university and studying film or just diving in at the deep end, for me, it was a pretty black and white choice, right? Because I just made a film that was, at least on a technical level, really ambitious, right? So I thought, instead of going to university and studying film for another 3 years, you know, why don't I just dive in at the deep end? You know, I'll read and I'll study as much as I can, because I love film. You know, it's a passion. So I'm going to do that anyway. You know, I didn't feel like I needed to pay to do that. And I built up the contacts making Catharsis, that I had a director of photography, right? I had a sound recordist, I had a composer, I had an editor, I had people that I'd worked with and built a relationship with. So yeah, I've always self-funded, done it myself, and, you know, that way I have complete control over my successes and failures, you know. And I think that's really the best way, because I think that shows you if you really do want it, because if you are willing to put thousands of pounds on the line to make a film, you know, like I did with Red to Blue, for example, knowing that you're never going to get that money back, right, at this level, but you want to do it anyway, because you want to tell that story, you want to make that film. That's a pretty good judge of how much you love and want to be in the film industry, right? So for me, it's a good ticker to keep me on the edge. Yeah, so that's my route. I mean, it's different for everyone. I've had friends that went and studied film at university. I've had some that have gone to uni and made incredible films. I've actually got one or two that went to university and never made a film at all. And I've got friends that followed me, right, and just went for it. Straight out of college, you know. Some of them are doing incredibly well, some of them not so much, you know. It's a mixed bag, really, and everyone's sort of route, the direction that they want to take is going to be different. But yeah, that's my particular route.
Wow, that's really enlightening. I have to commend you for just going straight into it. I mean, putting that much money on the line, it's quite amazing.
I just think it's, you know, to me, if you want to be making films to a certain level, right, even a technical level, not talking about content, but, you know, if you want to shoot it with a half decent camera with some nice cinema lenses, right, and maybe you want some original score composed for it, you know, you have to pay for those things. Like I said earlier, you know, no one's just going to turn up at your door one day and go, hello, I'm a director of photography, here's my Arri Alexa and Zeiss standard speeds, let's go make a film. You know, you have to pay for it. And I think if you're willing to make that investment, it really does pay off, you know, because it meant that for me, when I made Catharsis while I was at college, I was sort of working with the gear and the equipment that you would work with at university level, right? And that allows you a certain level of flexibility and creativity that isn't necessarily allowed at the lower levels, right? You're pretty restricted on the equipment that you can use, So knowing that I had a dedicated director of photography, someone who knew how to operate the camera, knew what lenses to use, knew how to light a scene, that for me allowed me to take a step back from that and get a bit more creative, with the direction of the project. But yeah, it's just, I'm biased, obviously, but I think that's the best way. I really do think it's the best way, is just dive in at the deep end. And if you love it enough, you will make it work. You will keep making films. And from those films, hopefully they get better and better. And each time you make a new film, it's a huge step up in scope and scale and ambition from the last. And eventually you'll get that call from Hollywood, right? Or wherever, But to me, that's just the best way. It gives you the most flexibility. You're not beholden to anyone else other than yourself, right? Obviously, this is talking from a writer, director, and a producer perspective, right? If you're a director of photography, for example, or a sound recordist, you probably want to do the same thing, right? You want to buy your own gear, get out there, start getting on sets, getting that experience, and getting the contacts, right? And for some people, going to university and studying the academic side of things and trying to get some practical experience may be the best way. But like I say, I felt after making my first film, Catharsis, I thought, you know what, let's just dive in at the deep end and see where it goes.
Wow. So after Catharsis, am I saying that right?
Mm-hmm.
Catharsis.
Yes.
You went on to do Red to Blue. Am I right?
Yes.
So how did that kind of idea come straight after your first documentary?
So it was actually quite a while after. There was a 4-year gap between Catharsis and Red to Blue because, as I mentioned, I left college and I got a full-time job, started working, but on the side, I built up my knowledge. I have spent 4 years learning how to screenwrite properly, reading just about every book on filmmaking, direction, editing, writing that I could find. I worked on a lot of smaller projects in between Catharsis and Red to Blue, a lot of music videos, some commercials for businesses, bits and bobs like that, the odds and sods that you do. But yeah, Red to Blue came about when Mansfield changed from Red to Blue. So in 2017, we elected our first ever Conservative MP. And I remember there being a night shortly after the election in 2017, me and a few friends are sat around the pub sort of going, how did this happen? It's just not something you ever expect. And me being sort of a filmmaker, I thought, right, there's got to be like a fascinating story in here, of the sort of catalysts that led to this change taking place. And then a few more years went by, and it wasn't until 2019 that I actually thought, you know what, let's do it. Enough waiting around, let's just dive in again. And I began to do preliminary research, jumped into pre-production, and we began to make Red to Blue. And the film was completed in September 2020. And we're now awaiting our cinema premiere and online release whilst we're submitting to film festivals up and down the country. So that was the sort of the route that led to Red to Blue and the reason that I wanted to make the film.
I was born in 63, and I was born in a pit house overlooking Rufford Colliery. We moved to Mansfield when I was about 3 or 4. My father worked down the mine. My grandfather worked at the mine just down the road. I'm the last generation of my family that worked underground.
My dad worked in several of the coal mines locally, many generations down. That's what they all did.
You went into Mansfield on any day of the week and it was busy. There wasn't a single pub that was half empty.
My dad was a striking miner. It was a tough time, a year with your family having no money and struggling to survive.
The police treatment of some of the miners got really, really nasty.
My time down the mines came to an end in 1994. We knew that was always going to be the trend, colliery closures year on year.
I'm incredibly proud to have worked in the pits. There's a lot of memories and there's a lot of lessons to be learned, but we're in a different age now.
What were the factors that led to Mansfield finally changing blue in 2017?
Mill's impact on Mansfield was very positive in the 80s.
Alan was depressed about Mansfield. It's an old mining town and that's what it is. But it could be so much more.
I don't think anybody could recognise him in the street. If I'm going to be blunt, an absolute disgrace.
Most of former Labour voters that voted for Tory did so with a heavy heart.
Our pits are gone, our factories are gone, all our jobs are gone. And all that time, we've been in this fantastic EU.
I was encouraged by Nigel Farage into believing that change was possible. He's a brilliant orator. He's Messiah-like.
Bradley campaigned to remain in 2016. Unsurprisingly for him, there was a quick change of face.
He managed to convince the bulk of the vote in Mansfield that would have been UKIP that the Tories could deliver.
It didn't help at all. Probably did us more damage than good, actually.
You look back and realise that the party had been in decline.
It was more of a vote of desperation. It was more of a cry for help by these communities.
It was our chance, the people's chance, to actually say no. We are here, we have a voice, and this is how we see it. They were asked to make a judgment call, and they flocked to it.
We had no Conservative Party really locally. So when the seat came up, I thought, you know what, if there was ever going to be a chance, this might be it.
It's quite interesting that, like, you've just kind of, I guess you've just gone out there and done it. You know, you haven't waited around for anyone to kind of come to you. You've just gone out, got a crew together, and just did it.
Yeah, well, some of that 4 years, you know, and this is why I talk quite definitively now about why I feel the route that I've took is the best way, because a lot of those 4 years was me waiting on other people. You know, I thought at the time that I couldn't do my next film until this producer was on board, or I couldn't make the next film until I got this director of photography or this editor, right? And I spent a lot of time, I wasted essentially 4 years because I was not confident enough in myself to actually think, you know what, Jay, you can do this yourself. You know, why are you waiting on other people? Spent a lot of time, you know, waiting to hear back from producers, right? I wrote this film After Dark, right, which is my next narrative project. And I've had the script written for a few years now. As I mentioned, I've been learning to screenwrite for 3 or 4 years now and writing this script alongside it. And there was a particular producer that I just had it in my head that I cannot make After Dark unless this producer is on board, right? And I wasted literally years of my life waiting for this producer to read the screenplay to this film, and eventually did read it and he hated it. So I wasted all of those years putting all of my sort of creative development in their hands for no particular reason other than, you know, I just got it in my head that I couldn't do it myself. And after that rejection, which is normal and, you know, it's fine, I thought, you know what, screw it, I'm going to do it myself. You know, I've got this idea for this documentary, I just want to make something. You know, so I rounded up some cash, you know, worked really hard, saved up and invested, I think it was about $3,000 startup cash to get pre-production going on Red to Blue, to hire in a preliminary team, you know, your director of photography, your sound recordist, your production team to actually help me get the film shot. And yeah, so that's why, you know, for me, that's why I'm so sort of strong on why I think people should do it themselves, because often you're not confident in your own abilities at this level, right? And now that I've made Red to Blue, I ended up producing it myself and wrote it and directed it, right? It wasn't that hard and I could do it all along. You know, it sounds quite cheesy, but you know, I sort of spent all that time doubting myself. And now I'm always going to produce my own stuff because that way I don't have to wait for anyone else. I've got a lot of experience after making Red to Blue now, raising capital, right? Budgeting, arranging stuff, all that producer stuff that I thought that I wouldn't be able to do. So now my sort of career development is in my own hands, really. You know, it's all down to me, which is good because it means that I'm not relying on anyone else other than myself to get me where I want to be. And I truly believe that is the best way that you can approach something, you know, is do it all yourself. And then maybe one day I'll meet a producer, you know, who can help me. But until that happens, I'm just going to stay the course, right, and just do it myself and hope for the best.
Well, I mean, you can comfortably say it's all paid off because you've got 3 documentaries in the work with the BBC.
Yes, yeah. So that came off the back of Red to Blue success. So as I mentioned, the documentary is not out yet, but we've been submitting to film festivals and we've won 2 Best Documentary Awards thus far, which is incredible. 2 wins is amazing for any film. Never mind a documentary about an ex-mining town in the middle of nowhere. And yeah, we've sort of been critically acclaimed, I guess you could say. We've had a lot of 4, 5-star reviews for the film, which is incredible. And clearly, someone somewhere was paying attention to what we were doing, because I got a call literally a month ago to the day from a producer at the BBC, and they said, "Hi Jay, we've seen what you've been doing with Red to Blue, really love it. We've got this idea for a sort of trilogy of films. Would you be interested in making it?" And obviously I was like, yeah, definitely. And we sort of went from there. Yeah, so the 3 films, essentially what they wanted from me, after seeing a lot of like TV and radio interviews that I'd done promoting Red to Blue, is they wanted me to sort of be in these films and present them, sort of like Louis Theroux style, and they wanted me to produce a trilogy of films that looked at subject matters related to COVID-19 that I cared about. So I went away and had a little think. They gave me a very limited timescale. These documentaries, as we talk today, are coming out next week, right? Not a lot of time, not a lot of money, but they said the opportunity's there if you want it. So I came up with this idea for a trilogy that was sort of interconnected. And the first film, The Excluded, looks at the 3 million odd taxpayers in the film and music industry that have been left behind, and how they found the COVID-19 pandemic, not being able to work on film sets, not being able to gig and play shows, right?
I find it quite ironic that obviously people have been sat at home throughout the lockdown watching Netflix and Amazon, right? Watching films, consuming what we do. Right. But then at the same time having the attitude of not wanting to support us, in a financial sense.
To me, I've seen that a lot where if there's anything to cut, they'll cut the arts.
Our band member, he got made redundant by a national promoter, and now he's doing a drug trial just to stay afloat.
And Sam would normally be working in places like this, right?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Like a lot of other creative people, a lot of musicians.
He's putting himself in potential harm's way because he can't find a job.
If that's what musicians have to do to carry on doing music, they will, I'm sure, but not everyone can do that.
Second film, Frontline, looks at an NHS doctor and a nurse, and how they found the physical and mental toll of working on the front line of the COVID-19 pandemic at Kingsmore Hospital here in Mansfield.
Do you remember that sort of first day that you dealt with a COVID patient?
The team have been contacting critical care. So we have got a patient who is not doing well, might need to come to critical care. I think there was a moment like it has started.
My family have still had to have my children while I come to work, so then even me going to get the children is putting them at risk. We all feel that when we go home. We all think, are we putting our family at risk by us coming to work to look after everybody else's family?
And then the third film, A Tale of Two Towns, is an interview, or more of a battle, I guess you could say, between Ben Bradley, Conservative MP, and Nadia Whittome, Labour MP, and how they both feel government has handled the COVID-19 pandemic.
Now, I think there's a fair argument to be made in regards to Eat Out to Help Out, that the economic benefit of something like that on the food and beverage industry sort of leveraged those businesses and gave them a bit of a boost coming out of the first lockdown.
The first thing to say is that Eat Out to Help Out wasn't a necessity. You can resurrect the economy, you can't resurrect the dead.
It's an incredibly difficult circumstance, and even government ministers have said, there will be things we've got wrong, and that's obvious to everyone, I think. But could anybody have done any better? I don't think so.
Yeah, and these documentaries will be premiering across the BBC, on radio, on TV, online, all over the place. So it's an incredible opportunity for me and my team, same team that made Red to Blue, to move on to something new. And what I would say, as I mentioned, this opportunity came out of nowhere, literally. I just got a call one day. It actually happened like that, like at work, hello, who's this, But what they told me is they'd sort of been paying attention to what we've been doing with Red to Blue, right? And that sort of proved to me that my theory on how I approach filmmaking and how I fund my own films sort of pays off, right? Because they'd seen that we tried something very ambitious with Red to Blue. Whether it pays off or not remains to be seen, when the film's released. But we were sort of doing it ourselves. We made this film locally, and they responded to that. So, my theory is always that, you just keep making films and you hope that they're as good as they can be. And you hope that each film that follows is better than the last, right? And then eventually someone will pick up on that. And somebody has, in this case, the BBC. And yeah, we've got these documentaries coming out very soon. Very exciting. It doesn't mean I'm off to Hollywood just yet, but it's an incredible opportunity for myself and my team to sort of prove ourselves to the folks at the BBC. And then hopefully, we'll be able to work with them on future documentary narrative projects going forward. So it's an incredible opportunity for us. And like I say, one that was born out of us just making films and trying to make them as good as we possibly could, So, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of inspiring me a bit, I won't lie. Just how from a young age you got a job, invested, you could say you invested in yourself, and it has paid off very well for you, it seems. Have you got anything, do you know what you're doing after the BBC documentaries?
Yes. Yeah. So that film that I mentioned earlier, After Dark, the one that I've been waiting to make for like 5 years now, that is the next project. So it was going to be the next project after Red to Blue, but then obviously the BBC docs cropped up, and no doubt there'll be something else that crops up between them and After Dark. But it's been 5 years now since I made a narrative film, my first narrative film. And I feel like I've learned so much about filmmaking, right, about being a writer, being a director, being a producer, that I want to dive back into that world. And narrative filmmaking is ultimately where I want to go into. I love making documentaries, and I think I'll always make documentaries. But my true passion is in narrative film. So yeah, After Dark is the next one, and we've got a plan of action of how we're going to get it funded. I can't say much about that yet, but we're going to do it. We're going to do it, and hopefully we'll begin shooting it this year. Although I have been saying that for 5 years now, so we'll see. But yeah, After Dark is the next big one, and that's the story of a young boy who's suffering with childhood schizophrenia, undiagnosed childhood schizophrenia. And him and his family have fallen on hard times, and he hears about a local poetry competition that's been ran out of his school. And he hatches a plan with his sister to write a poem to enter into this competition to see if they can win the prize money that they think, in their sort of adolescent minds, will be enough to save the family from financial ruin, and it's a very personal story. And it's one that, as I say, it's been in my mind for so long now that I just feel like I need to get it made, get it out there, and then we'll move on to the next thing, but I'm very tunnel vision focused on that project being my next big one after these BBC documentaries.
Wow, I hope that goes well for you. It sounds quite interesting, and I'm kind of interested in these BBC docs. I think I'm finding myself looking, kind of edging towards more factual kind of production. But I hope it goes well for you. One last question. I guess if you could quickly summarize for someone just about to get into the industry or thinking about getting into film, what kind of words would you say to them to try and inspire them?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm very early on in my career, right? So people probably shouldn't be taking advice from me, but we've done really well so far, in the projects that we've made. And at the age of 22, being able to work with the BBC, right, having made two films so far, I'm doing pretty well. I'm still not doing it full time. I'm not earning near enough money to be able to do it full time, but I'm making the films that I want to make, right? So you can judge success like that, I suppose. Rather than monetary value, I'm making the films that I want to make and getting incredible opportunities. So what I would say is be tenacious and ruthless in your ambition. Do not give up and keep going. You'll always find a way. If you need to tell a story, you will find a way to do it. And always ensure that you've got this quality bar, right? You don't want to make a film and just half-arse it, right? If you're going to do it, you want to do it properly. So set yourself that quality bar when you go in to make a film and ensure that no part of the production ever dips below that. Be ambitious, right? Don't just make a film in your kitchen, Be a bit more ambitious than that, I'm not saying go wild and be stupid about it, and try and make a big crime epic with 500 quid and your mates, but try and be ambitious in the scope and the scale of your project within reason, right? And make sure that you read books on filmmaking. I've got loads. Read about screenwriting, read about direction, read about editing, read about music composing. Study the industry and your craft. Because I'm sure, as you'll know, James, when you're a filmmaker, it's more of a lifestyle than just a job, right? It's a way of being because you love it so much. So make sure that you dive into it head first. Know everything there is to know, everything that you can possibly learn about filmmaking, and then dive in. That would be my advice to anyone.
Wow, that's pretty good advice. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time.
No problem at all.
And yes, we'll be looking forward to your docs.
Yes.
And hopefully your narrative film, if that gets passed.
Yes. Well, I'll just say, if anyone is interested in keeping up with the work that I do, if you jump on any social media and search for Sharp Edge Productions, that's my production company that I produce all of my films through. So you'll be able to see Catharsis on there, any Red to Blue updates, and also the BBC documentaries as well. So be sure to check out the Sharp Edge Productions page. You can also follow Red to Blue on Facebook as well. That's our main social media hub. So facebook.com/Red to Blue documentary. That's REDTBLUE documentary. Got loads of updates on there, the official trailer, clips, stills, etc. So you can follow along online to what we're doing at Sharp Edge and the projects we have coming up.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Thanks to Jay for joining us. Don't forget to check out his BBC documentaries when they're released. Next up, we have All Clear, a film which is made by the hosts of this festival.
Hey guys, quiet please. Last lesson, just an hour to go. Quiet please. Okay, spread out. The lights. Sit down. Be calm. Nice and quiet.
Guys, start texting, tweeting, letting everyone know what's happening. Just don't tell them where we are.
Holly's running late. She might be outside. I need to go and find her. You need to stay in here. You need to stay calm. You need to sit down.
Please, Mr. Page, she's out there all alone. I need to go find her.
Noah, sit down and stay calm. We're safe. No one can get in.
It's okay. I need to tell you something. You know all those mean texts that you got last year? They were from me. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. It's okay. I forgive you. It's okay.
Take a video, just in case. Does anyone have anything they want to say?
Yeah. Hi, Mum and Dad. I love you guys. I'm really sorry that I didn't treat you right. I really love you. Mum, I'm sorry that I was always rude to you. I promise that I do actually like Tony. I'm sorry. I should have been nicer. Blair?
Nathan, I just wanted to say you're the best brother I could ever wish for. And that I love you.
If you move all the boxes in my cupboard, there's a journal I've been keeping for the last 5 years.
Ethan.
Just turn it off.
Mr. Banks, I need to go and find
No! Sit down!
No.
Stop it! No, you're putting everyone's life at risk.
No?
Holly?
No?
Holly, is that you?
Please, can you open the door?
She might not be alone. We need to let her in.
No. What if the shooter's using her to get into the room?
No, we need to let her in.
Not if it gets us all killed.
It's only Holly, just let her in.
We can't put everyone's life at risk. Let her in. Who's there?
Mr. Banks? It's me, Holly.
Holly, are you okay?
Please, can you let me in?
Let her in.
I'm scared.
It's okay. It's okay.
All clear.
All clear, guys.
Can we leave now?
Shouldn't we wait for the police or something?
Just stay calm. I'll go and get someone. Just stay here.
We'd like to say a massive thank you to all the filmmakers who have submitted to the festival and everyone who's tuned in tonight. The voting will close at 9:25 and the winners will be announced on our Facebook page at 9:30, so head over there. We've had so much fun putting the festival together and we hope you've enjoyed it. From all of us here at NYFF, thank you and good night.